Hey peeps, welcome to the third video talking about DraftKings Reignmakers, which I'm really excited about. It's getting ready to start soon. Great time to get in right now. Check out my referral code in the About section. I want to get into talking about some flipping and lineup construction, things along those lines. Try to make this video quick again. My wife's coming home from work, and I don't want to be recording this when she comes home. So flipping is buying and reselling cards or anything really. It's something I've been doing personally a long time in a wide variety of things. I was a trader in Chicago, traded options, done lots of crypto trading, lots of stock market trading, eBay type trading, collectibles, NFTs, and specifically these kind of online games, NFT style games. There's good money in. I mean, you can do well in it. There's a saying, nobody ever went broke taking a profit. You have to find what is acceptable for you to want to cash out on a card. Some people don't want to sell at all. They think they're going to moon, or they just don't want to sell. They want to, in this particular case, they would want to use them for all the contests this season. But I tend to be the kind of person that is willing to sell anything if it hits the right level. So I'll often just immediately put a sell order in way above where things are currently are. Just as an example, on these, when I'm buying cards, a lot of them for $4, $5, $6. Let's just say I'll immediately probably put it in at $17.95 or $19.95 or $14.95 up to $24.95 maybe. But I'm not, plus you have the fees coming out for the NFLPA licensing and the other one when you sell. So I'm not looking just to make a dollar or two, but if I can, double, triple the money on it real quick, I'll do it and reallocate. So far, I've flipped one card I bought, and it was a Geno Smith. I bought it for $7, and somebody picked it up for $18, so that was pretty good in just a couple of days. And again, I feel like we're still here early on this. If you're seeing this video, I'm putting this out at the end of August, and still 2 weeks away from the NFL season. And DraftKings is doing a whole lot of promotion. One reason cards will pop is the showdown contest. So their Thursday night game, there's a showdown contest. Sunday night games, I think there will be. Monday night games, there will be. That's usually how DraftKings does it. Don't quote me exactly on how they're going to do it for the Reignmakers. But, the first week, that's how they have it set up. They have 3 showdown contests. And there's multiple contests for those games. It's not just one showdown, as I mentioned. So, just real quick here. So for the Sunday night game, which is Tampa Bay Dallas, there's 5 core contests going right now. The biggest one is a $20,000 prize pool. And there are 431 entrants into that contest as of now. It pays 2,600 spots. The lowest get a prize pack card. The lowest cash payout's $3. No fee to enter this if you have the cards. You need 4 players from that game to enter. There are showdowns currently that I've entered with horrible cards just to fill a spot in them. I want to see if there is overlay coming into week 1 and how things go. The first contest is the Buffalo Rams. That's getting the most excitement and pop because it's the first one. That has 1,100 entrants so far. Similar payout, $20,000. And I have a crap lineup in that one at this point. It may upgrade before then. But basically, I just wanted to fill spots. And I believe I have Acres I picked up cheap. All these were cheap. I put money into the DraftKings Reignmakers gradually over time. So at certain times, I didn't have a whole lot of my balance, so I'd just be like, let me add that one. I sometimes tend to be a quantity over quality type person. Everybody's different in their collecting, trading style, that type of thing, which I'm going to talk about with the lineups as well, because you can have as many lineups as you want. Right now, it looks like there's 8 core contests each week. We're talking about the core level. When you go up to the elite level and stuff like that, it changes and the money becomes a lot more. If you wanted to enter all 8, let's say, you would need 8 different lineups. Then if you wanted to enter the showdowns, you would need, 4 players from that game. There's 17 superstars. If you wanted to have one of each of those and make a lineup, that would give you 17 total lineups. you have to figure out what works for you and what you want to do. And you don't have to put them into each contest. Some of these have crap prizes. There's single entries. There's everybody wins ones. There's winner take all ones, which are pretty scary. But you want to see how it goes and what fills. So the flipping, yeah. So, you know, when you're buying stuff out there, you can look at the depth of the market. So you see what other people have for sale and go, oh, wow, there's only 3 for sale below $20, and I'm buying this for $5. I'll go ahead and buy it and put it in for $17.95. Boom. And that's worked. So like I said, already one card sold. And I mentioned the Field Pass one the last time. I got that for, I believe, 19, and that's over 40 now on the lowest. So I put my order in to sell. Nobody's bought it yet, but I'm fairly certain somebody will soon if people don't keep undercutting each other on it. And, you know, like with flipping, you do kind of have to be on top of it to some degree with some of the sites, because I can tell you, like Sorare, the soccer one, I had goalies that pop that I paid like $8 for that went to over 100. Usually it'll be a substitute goalie. They're extremely valuable in that game. But a few of them I didn't see it because I got kind of bored with it and wasn't following it. And you couldn't put like a good till canceled order in. You had to kind of update your sell orders. And so I missed out. I sold some good ones on there, trust me. But there were other times that I could have cashed out better if I had been on top of it. And, you know, like that flipping used to be really good on NBATopShot, and it's not, it's terrible now, quite honestly. The football one's good. AllDay is good for flipping. But to be honest with you, I sold probably half my NFL AllDay to go into DraftKings Reignmakers. Now, DraftKings AllDay does have a contest. They just started the beta on it with the $10,000 weekly prize pool, and I actually should have hit this week, the first week on it, but I had Carson Wentz and some other guys who didn't even play that I thought were going to play. And but the compare that $10,000 one contest versus the amount that DraftKings is putting into these guaranteed weekly ones. And now I know the moments are actually cooler, obviously, and they're limited over there as well. And I've kept a hold of a good amount of AllDays, but I'm more into this one right now, especially considering where the number of entrants are and all that kind of thing at this point. So, you know, just looking at bargains, everything, you know, you have to determine, again, if you want to flip, if you don't want to flip. You know, some people, there's a lot of things on the internet where people flip them for 50 cents or $1, but sometimes you got to remember that some things are global, and there's people in other countries who, to make $1 is worth it to them. For me, it's not worth it unless I can make $5, $10, $15 or more. Some people, it's not worth it to them unless they can buy something for $200 and sell it for $1,000. Everybody's parameters. You got to figure out what you're comfortable with. I've also not duplicated cards in this, although I do have duplicate of one, Devontae Adams, but that came out of packs. I'm trying to sort of diversify and getting a variety of things from different ones. But just looking at some of the ones that I bought that I think certainly look undervalued. Renfro, DJ Moore, Etienne, Sutton from Denver. Chubb has been undervalued on a lot. Connor's undervalued on a lot. I got an Amari Cooper for $2. Josh Jacobs. You know, some of the lesser known people who are on lesser teams, but they can pop in a given week. So if you have multiple lineups, you can do that. You have to sort of decide how many lineups you want to have. Like I said, if you get one of each superstar at 17, you can make 17 different lineups and then have them split up among that. This is a lot more, I guess I would say, linear than DraftKings regular. There's just 5 spots: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and a flex. That's why tight ends aren't going for as much, although, as I mentioned previously, they mention things about bringing tight ends and individual defense players and kickers into it more than just on Showdowns. Showdowns, they do have value. With that LA Rams Buffalo one I mentioned, I just wanted to fill it, and so I ended up with Akers as my main one, and that one I'm hoping to flip because he's projected by some to have a really good year. And then I actually got Devin Singletary and Knox from Buffalo in my starter pack. So I think this was the first contest I entered. So then I was just looking down. I'm like, well, what's cheap on here? Because when you go into the contest, it does list you all the possible players that you can get that you don't have, and there's, you know, you can see the ones you have, and it lists their last year's DraftKings fantasy points and the lowest cost at the common level. It doesn't sort by rare. You can't do it with the rare for some, which is annoying when you're trying to enter a rare contest. But so I was just running down there. Anyway, I ended up picking a Bobby Wagner as a defensive player. Now, just because he's cheaper than like Aaron Donald and some of the other ones, and he just looked cheap at the time. But what most people are going to do with this, Allen and Kupp are superstars. So you can only have one of them. So the fairly obvious play is probably Josh Allen and Diggs. And I mean, according to this, it's like $50 to get the two of them if you don't have one already. And then they're going to fill in the other two spots. The most obvious other one after that is Matt Stafford. He's going for $24. I think these prices have gone up since I last looked at them yesterday. I don't know. Last time I tracked them was a few days ago. Then the fourth spot is the question, if you're not using Cooper Kupp. So that's where the play may come in for Akers or McKenzie, Singletary. There's all kinds of people. Then you have Von Miller. You got the kickers. You got Aaron Donald. You got Allen Robinson. Forgot about him. You got Jalen Ramsey. And you got Wagner. You got Knox. You got, was it Higbee or Everett? So that's where it's going to come into play. And if there's a tie there in the showdown, this lower serial numbers wins. So one way to look to flip is to see, what showdowns are coming up next week. Because I can tell you already these have risen. All of these showdown games have risen the first week. I mentioned that I flipped the Geno Smith. Now, some of that was because they officially announced him as a starter, but it was sort of obvious he was going to be the starter if you paid attention. And also, I just happen to think Drew Lock sucks bad. I mean, I saw him play in college. I'm a Kentucky fan, and he was terrible against Kentucky. And this was before we had a decent team. I'm like, this guy is not good. And Geno Smith is not great either, and his upside's very low. But in that Denver-Seattle game, he's attractive. So somebody bought that for me, and I'm hoping more go like that. Then you got the Tampa Bay. There's two other showdowns the first week, but they're coming up on Sunday night and Monday night. But I wanted to mention the ones in week 2. You can start planning ahead. In week 2, I believe if DraftMakers does it this way, where they have the Thursday night as a showdown, the Sunday night, and then there's actually 2 Monday night games. I'm not sure if they'll do showdowns of both those or not. The next Thursdays is KC LA Rams. So the Rams and KC are going to be on these a lot. The Sunday night is Bears Packers, and the Monday night games are Tennessee Buffalo and Minnesota Philly. So if you did get the Stafford and Kupp combo, you'd be looking at using it in both of those, and it's not cheap though. Aaron Rodgers is cheap. I can tell you that. And the question is, who do you put with Aaron Rodgers? This is where you start looking at the stacks. Is it Lazard? Is it I think Aaron Jones is probably a better bet, or is it just Rodgers by himself? Or do you fade the Packers entirely, which is a decent possibility? Building the different ones, when you get started, you get your starter pack. And I got Jalen Hurts in mine as the quarterback and Devontae Adams as the superstar. So the obvious pairing to go with Jalen Hurts would be to get like an A.J. Brown. I actually picked up, or Goddard. I actually picked up a Devontae Smith just because it was cheap, and I just saw it and I just bought it. But I probably will get an A.J. Brown to go with it. I want to see how he does. He's sort of injury prone too, if I feel like. So when you look at that, and then like with the Devontae Adams, it's a little disappointing that he's the 2 superstars I got first. I've actually bought a couple off the market, but just because he was so good last year. But obviously going with him would be like a Derek Carr. Is a nice pairing for stacking. And the more and more I look at it, stacking on this is going to be pretty important for DraftKings. Probably just 2. There are maybe a few cases where you want to do 3. And again, I was trying to look at the individual lineups, with the set, because there's 17 superstars, and most of the quarterbacks have an obvious pairing, or the wide receivers. The running back only ones are sort of less attractive. The running back superstars in some ways are a little less attractive for building a lineup when you look at what pieces to add. Although not necessarily. I'm talking about if you're doing 17 different unique lineups that you could mix and match. And if you go by last year's DraftKings course, not projections for this year, Okay, if you took the superstar and we're just using each card unique once, something like a combination of Stafford, Kupp, Fournette, Tyreek, and Kamara would have almost been like an optimal lineup based on average weekly score. Now, obviously, these are going to change week to week based on matchups and injuries and all that kind of stuff. Just from when I was eyeballing it. Now, this year, it probably won't be those guys, Fournette, Tyreek, and Kamara, depending on how you seed them. But then you're looking at like Allen Diggs, Josh Allen and Diggs as a pairing. Mahomes and Kelsey. Cousins and Jefferson. This is one superstar and one not. And then you have to fill out the rest of your lineup. Lamar Jackson and Andrews. Justin Herbert, that one you could say Keenan Allen and Williams, but you're leaving out Eckler, who's a superstar as well. Superstar card. Devontae and Carr. Burrow and Chase. Debo and Lance. Remains to be seen how much Lance can do, in my opinion. But then you got the running back only ones. So you got Dalvin Cook, Henry, Eckler, McCaffrey, Taylor. And then those you have to build sort of the whole thing out, unless you want to throw the quarterback in with them. But none of those really are good. Great quarterback pairing. You can obviously then go deeper with your depth and stacks. Like some of the ones like Thielen with Cousins and Jefferson, Juju potentially with Mahomes, depending on how that turns out. Bateman with Lamar and Andrews, or with Andrews. Lazard possibly with Aaron Rodgers. With Dak, possibly Zeke or Schultz. Now Devontae Harris, he's another one. He's another superstar. Is that his name, Devontae? My brain is fried. Harris, the running back for Pittsburgh. That's an interesting one. He's extremely low relative to others. He has been on most fantasy football things. And that's one I picked up. I actually picked up both Trubisky and Pickett because they were so cheap. I think they were like $3 each. And everybody loves Pickett, but it's fairly certain Trubisky's going to start. And I think I heard one of these fantasy guys, what's his name, Matthew. He's like, man, the Pittsburgh offense might put up more fantasy points than last year. And I wouldn't be surprised if it does. I think they're underrating that. And Deontay Johnson is the wide receiver, and he's extremely undervalued. So if Trubisky comes out and does well, there's no reason for them to play Pickett, number one, even no matter how good Pickett looks. Just a side note on that. That's the kind of lower price quarterback pairings that I'm talking about. So, you want to look around, make sure you see what the different sets are going for. So when you say when you look at a running back, like let's say, let me see here. Najee Harris is his name. I called him Devontae Harris. Najee Harris, he's a superstar card again. Important to remember that. He's probably one of the lesser superstar cards. On the core level, so like right now, the Elevate core low is $10.75. The Booster core low price is $11.75. The Superstar is $12.99, and the Genesis is $13.33. All of these play the same in the game currently. And the Field Pass is $39.99. Now, I would immediately want to buy the Elevate one that's $1 cheaper. Why wouldn't you? You might want to look at the serial numbers, but just keep an eye peeled. I mean, that right there, it just shows you the inefficiencies going on in the market currently, and things along those lines. There is the Genesis and the Elevate are gonna have things that come into play for them as time goes along, and they may have separate contests for those only. So as I mentioned, but you can just look at it and go, the Genesis only has 600 in the set, the Elevate is 1,000, the Booster has 1,700, the Superstar has 58,000 possible. They're not having an issue anywhere near that. So the Superstar, they can do them as many, but only one per customer. So they're projecting, or they're built for a total of like 60,000 people being paid customers on this. Right now, I don't know the exact number. I mean, I think over 20,000 and growing have already signed up for the first contest, but the paid contests, or the ones where you have to buy your way in, we're going to see, and that right now there's a ton of potential overlay. Now with the rare contest, I delved into that with one to see how I do, because the number of people in them right now is so low, rare and above. Okay, this is where you get into bigger money that can be won, but also is going to cost you that on investments. Okay, so for the rare initial game, the rare single entry Thursday game, there isn't one. But on the Sunday single entry and the regular big one, it's called Fiat Frenzy, $10,000 for first place, $150,000 prize pool. 1,400 people have entered it. I'm one of them. And it pays out almost 5,000 spots, 4,700 spots. Now, 3,000 to 4,700 only get various prize packs, which is cards, which could be worth a lot. From 2,900 up, it pays $20. Okay, keep that in mind. They also, their bankroll booster contest pays 1,500 spots, and that's everybody gets $20. Okay, that may be the one I end up entering if they don't have enough people, because I can get $20 back out of a guaranteed, and that is a 20 entry max contest. Point being is you can use currently you can use one common with 4 rare. The common cannot be a superstar. This is similar to what Sorare has done. However, what Sorare also has done is take away that and make it where you had to have all rares to enter, so they may do that on DraftKings. Sorare just did that with their new baseball contest. They had ones where you could have limited, then you had in common, but they made it all limited. Anyway, I went ahead and got 4 rares, and maybe I probably should get 5. And I was just looking for cheap ones that might have some value. So I got the running back is hard to get any for dirt cheap, but I picked up a Burkhead, Rex Burkhead. The wide receiver, I got Corey Davis for pretty cheap, and that's actually not a bad one at all. And I also got Wan'Dale Robinson, who's a rookie for the Giants, cheap, which is not a bad one at all, depending on how he goes. I mean, he played for Kentucky, and that kid is a winner. Now, do I think he's a super duper duper explosive NFL player? Remains to be seen. There was another Kentucky player that I thought was going to be great in the NFL who actually hasn't panned out. The Raiders picked him and ruined him. Forgot his name. He led the country in all-purpose yards like 3 years ago. Now for tight end, for the other spot, I actually have another rare. I got a Thornton in a pack, and he's collarbone hurt. But I also picked up a Taysom Hill for cheap because he's under the tight end slot. And as far as I know, if he plays in the quarterback slot, that counts points either way. And it was $7, which is one of the cheaper rares you're going to get. So I think my total investment in the rares was like $30 maybe. And if I can get in this contest and get 20 at least out of it the first week, I'm sort of like ahead of the game already. And hopefully I'll pick up more rares as I go along. I may buy another rare pack. Anyway, that's it for now. I know I've rambled on here a bit. This is the 3rd video. I'll try to put some more up when I get some thoughts, and maybe more specific, like live bargains that are going on. Just check the markets, build your thing, look at building lineups. I think I have about 6 good lineups right now. But also, you want to look at the showdowns, like having possibly 2 of each team, or once to make the or doing it, buying ahead of the showdowns and then selling them before the showdown. There's a lot of different strategies depending on if you like to flip things or not, if you really are an active manager of your cards, or if you just want to get studs, and a bunch of lineups full of studs. You can certainly, and that'll probably do well. It's just going to require more initial investment on it. All right, signing up for now. Have a good one, guys.